Hi everyone, my name's Amy from Mummy Mojo and I'm a coach, practitioner, therapist and self-confessed mojoaholic. So many years ago I lost my mojo. I was overburdened, I was putting my needs last no matter what the cost to me was physically, emotionally and mentally. And even though I worked in the wellness industry, I wasn't necessarily always walking the talk, working long hours, eating lunch on the run. And eventually my adrenals packed up, my stomach went haywire, my immune system shut down and I got sick. But out of that, I changed my entire life. I changed my diet for the better. I looked after my mindset. I set up a holistic lifestyle for myself and I launched my wellness business. And I truly love guiding people into their own wellness journey. And I think that people should look at health like they do wealth, something that they invest and nurture, that they share with the people that they love and they bequeath to their children. And you know, wellness really should blend the mind, body and spirit into this holistic state of being that is unique for you. And so if you think about it, each choice, each action and every thought that you take will either add to your well-being or subtract from it. And so the more that you do to add to your mind, body, spirit well-being, the more energy you're going to have to do everything you want to do in your life. And so you're on this wonderful wellness journey at the moment with Known. And I really encourage you to listen to what your body wants, but also I really encourage you to share it with your colleagues around you, because you'll really motivate and inspire and encourage each other to keep going. And you know, a healthy diet is a really important factor in this. And it's not so much about the number of calories you eat or the fat that you take in, it's about creating this healthy, holistic diet for yourself. It's about changing your little daily habits and then the way you think about food. And as individuals, you're always going to have different needs. People prefer certain diets, but processed sugar, your processed foods, junk food, they're all going to be negatively impacting you. And so hopefully today you'll get some, cool tips, tools, tricks, some strategies you can take with you. I encourage you to have a notepad and pen. I was hoping to come in this week, but you've got this video, you can stop it at any time, take some notes and also just apply what appeals to you the most. And then hopefully out of those, choices that you make, you're going to start getting the body that you've always dreamed of. So I'm going to share with you my first strategy for great nutrition, for eating well and having a healthy diet. And that is to set your intention, to set your why, and to also set some SMART goals. And so how you can start with this is you can think about the number one diet step or habit that you have in your life that isn't currently serving you. Now it's that one that you get that sinking feeling. You've experienced it many times. It's been with you probably for a while. And you might even feel the physical sensations. You feel it in your gut or in your heart, the pounding of the heart. And you really know that you're stuck in this destructive cycle and you're really ready to change it. It's always really good to start with that one. And it could be drinking too much wine or drinking too much alcohol too often, being addicted to carbs or sugar, so your refined carbs, sugar, eating way too much sugar, too much chocolate. It's unique for the individual. It might even be a lifestyle, but let's look at nutrition for today. But you can think of other lifestyle like not enough sleep, not enough exercise, but certainly looking at nutrition, it probably stands out to you. You can firstly probably start with, is it salty or is it sweet, and go from there, and generally that leads you in the right direction. And so then you want to choose an intention for the way that you want to eat. And I want you to take a moment to write this down. So please stop the video after you've got enough from me. Stop the video and write it down. It's very, very powerful. And that why should be the vision that you want to manifest for your health and for your body. And it could be an ideal body weight, it could be to feel confident, vibrant and energized, it could be all of that, but something in and around that that would really inspire you. And it's really important to know your why, the feel better, lose weight, live longer, better quality of life. Because regardless of the motivation, it is always easier to stay on track when it comes to healthy eating if you know where you're going and you know your why. There's nothing more powerful than shifting that mindset to acknowledge that you deserve to feel and look good in your body. There really isn't. So I really encourage you to do that step. And next, I want you to write down 2 or 3 goals that would help change that habit, that would help change that food habit that you have that is getting in the way of you being healthy and having the body you desire. And there's lots of evidence around this, and there's evidence to show that 42% increase in people who actually write their goal down. So you might think of it, but you've got a 42% increased chance of getting it if you actually write it down. Now this increases to a whopping 78% if you've got an accountability buddy. So tell your accountability buddy, and you've got a 78% chance of it coming true. Pretty phenomenal results, right? So write it down and make sure it's a SMART goal. So it's specific, it's measurable, it's attainable, it's realistic, and it's timely. Now, you want it to be a little bit of a challenge for you, but it's also got to be, realistic. And you want it to be very specific and timely. So an example of that could be, it's 22nd of May at 8 p.m. I am 4 kilos lighter and I have the body I desire. I wake up each day with an abundance of energy and vitality, and I've never felt more confident in my own skin. That could be an example. Feel free to borrow that one, or you can keep it very short. I am 6 kilos lighter and I feel fabulous. But you want to be very much in the I am, and try not to use negative words like I have lost. Focus on the here and the now, like it's actually happened. So I'm going to share with you my second strategy for good nutrition and healthy eating, for optimum health and vitality. And that is meal planning and prepping, setting yourself up for success. Now, during COVID, a lot of our eating habits dissolved into these vicious cycles of, working and eating at your desk, skipping meals, eating on the run, well, not on the run in the house, but eating maybe the junk food of your kids, and just forgetting to restock that fridge and pantry full of healthy foods. And so by setting yourself up for success with healthy home cooking, one of the things that you can do is to well stock your fridge and your pantry with all of these great, abundant, healthy foods. And so when you're hungry, you're not going to sabotage your weight loss if it's so much by just ordering delivery or junk food. Another tip would be to cook once and eat twice. So an example of that would be, we cook this bolognese for our kids, good sort of quality gluten-free pasta, and we stuff a lot of veggies in there, but it does have the bolognese mince in there. And then we'll use that the next night for either a really sort of, healthy Mexican meal, or maybe even a shepherd's pie or something if it's in winter. But just looking at how you can utilise some of the things that you cook to eat it twice, or even leftovers is okay. Yes, it is more nutritious to eat it fresh, but absolutely, if it's going to be in the fridge and save you getting takeaway or delivery or junk food, then it's a really good choice. And then you want to get rid of the kitchen clutter. And by that, I mean, pantry items that are out of date, maybe tin foods with lots of additives and things in them, just anything that's going to get in the way. You want to set up your kitchen as like a safe zone. So we have a snack cupboard for our kids, and they're pretty healthy snacks, but they're still snacks with a few additives and things in them. And so we realised over time, just get the snacks for the kids, let's not add some things in there for us, because it's just too easy to go in there. So just setting that kitchen up in a way where if you want a snack, it's like nuts, I've got some nuts here, or some fruit, maybe some apples, things like that. Setting yourself up for success that way. And also, it'd be the same if you're, driving around a lot, or you're in the office, supply your car, supply the office with those healthy snacks, healthy meals. If you've got a kitchen, put it in the fridge. Just do what you can to set yourself up for healthier eating choices and habits. And even on the go, you can have like a cooler bag and things like that if you're going into the office. And so another thing which might sound like a weird tip, but it would be to plan your splurges. Now, the main reason you would do that is that you can fully enjoy that experience. There's evidence to show that if you're eating that calorie sort of dense food in an unplanned moment, you can feel a lot of regret and shame and frustration and just a lot of negativity around it. But if you plan it as an experience to enjoy, then it lets go a lot of that. And it actually helps counteract any negative unconscious thinking about, losing weight's so hard, I can't do it, I don't have what it takes, because you've planned it in as part of what you eat. Because I don't believe it should ever be 100%. That's not being a human being. But you also, what you can do when you start planning things, you can plan better options. So you could plan, dark quality organic chocolate versus perhaps the Cadbury, Kit Kat and those sorts of things. So there's a way of still having it, but having it in a way that's going to be better for your health. But they're definitely imperative on a health protocol. And it'll really show you that you haven't gone off track. You can keep moving forward and it's all part of it. And then there's meal planning and prepping, which is my absolute favourite for setting yourself up for success in the kitchen. It really makes you much more efficient in the kitchen, but there's so many other whys. As I said, it saves time, but it also saves on last minute stress. It can save you money and effort. It can save those blood sugar spikes from all of that junk food, delivery, takeaway. And it also ensures that in the busy times, you don't give in to decision fatigue. So our days are these series of packed decision-making moments, and they can leave us exhausted and they can delete the willpower. And so decision fatigue means that you're more likely to lay on that couch, get on the phone and order that delivery rather than hitting the gym and cooking a healthy meal. And so deciding meals in advance, doing some planning and prepping, it frees up that willpower. You don't even need to dip into that. And it helps you stay on track with your health-related goal. Without a doubt, this cooking ahead and this planning ahead is one of the best strategies for healthy eating. So one of the objectives would be to do some planning. And so this is our Down family meal planner. We get different ones made up. I also have one for my Mojo Detox and 28-day summer body meal plan programs that I have for my clients. But on here you can just put on your meals. You can even put things to buy, although having a separate shopping list is good, the week starting, on your fridge, and it's just a constant reminder, of the meals that you're having, and it really does motivate and inspire and encourage you to stay more on track. And another objective would be to pre-make meals, especially if you've got a busy week ahead, or pre-make snacks. And so options of that would be we'll boil eggs. They're a great protein snack to have on the go, but go really well with lunches and even dinners. At a push, you could have it as a quick, efficient dinner. You could grill some extra chicken. You can cook up some quinoa. So quinoa is actually a protein, so they can go in these toxic-free containers. Cook up some quinoa and they can go in salads. You can have that as a replacement for rice, for any kind of meal during the week. You can put it into salads, as I mentioned as well. You can make up these great dips and pestos and things like that, and dressings even. Just put them in a glass jar for the environment, but also much better for you because you can absorb toxins in plastic. So you can put them in glass jars. You can reuse jars like these. And so you can make all those things up, have them all in your fridge. You only need an hour or so on a Sunday. We do it on a Sunday after we've shopped and we've sort of scrubbed our veggies from the farmers markets, and it really does sort of get you sort of motivated. It puts you in that mindset to eat much healthier during the week. You really notice a difference when you don't. And so having things like that on the go can be a really great use of your time. Now, if you can't do that every weekend, you can think about what you can put in the freezer. So we have smoothie bags in the freezer. And so the smoothie bags are in the freezer. You can even make those up the night before, which take about 5 minutes. And then you wake up and you're like, I'll have a wonderful smoothie. It's all ready to go. All I've got to do is put it in the blender with a little bit of, non-dairy milk or coconut water or something like that, and we're good to go. So I'm going to share with you strategy 3 for top nutrition, health and vitality. And that would be to avoid certain foods. If you can avoid these couple of areas of foods, it'll go a long way to you leading an optimally healthy life and with a lot of longevity as well. And so I truly believe that food is not only sustenance, it's also medicine. And the way that we eat directly impacts our natural ability to stay well, to fight infection, to have good energy and mental health. And in today's day and age, there's this social paradigm around food that is so wrong. It really is. What people think is food, it really isn't. It's this synthetic, what I call food, Frankenstein food. And, there's the standard American diet, and I like to call the SAD diet the Australian diet, the standard Australian diet as well. And it is all these sort of junk, processed foods, sugary foods that are so nutrient deficient. And you don't even have enough gas or, petrol to go to the next petrol station. Never mind handle a pandemic like, the coronavirus. And so my top pick is sugar. Sugar, there's a plague of it, and here's why. Research has shown that sugar is highly addictive. In fact, it was showed that binging on sugar was similar to drug abuse. Yeah, that's right, drug abuse. It's a bit full on, isn't it? And even things that you might not necessarily think of as sugar, like your refined white bread, it puts a surge of sugar into the bloodstream. And what it does is it stimulates the dopamine receptors in the brain. And this over time can create addiction, and it's almost impossible to resist. It kind of leads to this sort of dopamine cycle. And, you're addicted without even knowing it. And so like the more sugar you eat, the more you crave. So an example, you might start your day with a sugary cereal, then you'll put some skim milk in there, which is really sugary. You might have, a piece of toast with some jam, a bit more sugar. And so by the time you sort of hit what I call the 3 p.m. slump, you see the lolly jar in the office, and you're not going to resist it. You're really not. So, it becomes an issue for people. The other thing that happens is refined sugar dulls the taste buds. So it dulls the taste buds so much that you don't pick up on all that natural sweetness that you get from those amazing fruits and amazing natural foods that have the sweetness in it. And this is how you become a food addict. And so, not only do you become an addict, it leads to a lot of health problems. Everything from suppressed immunity to high inflammation, which leads to chronic disease, to unbalanced hormones. It affects the DNA in your cells and creates blood sugar irregularities. It elevates insulin and it promotes weight gain. So sugar isn't metabolized that well by the body. It really isn't. And what it does is it gets stored in the liver as fat. And then when the liver can't cope, which doesn't happen after too long, the fat then gets pushed out to the organs, so things like your heart and around your belly. And then with the inflammation that it causes, they're implicated in lots of chronic diseases, from your heart disease and diabetes to dementia and cancer. And so you really want to prioritize getting your taste buds used to those natural fruits. It's a real top tip for me. So you can have sort of 1 or 2 a day, an apple or an orange. Berries are fantastic. One of my top tips is to get a bag of organic berries, which you always have in the freezer. Put them out on the bench while you're making dinner, and then by the time you've had dinner, they're sort of half defrosted and they really taste delicious, a little bit like ice cream. Particularly if you mix them with things. You can have a frozen banana, some berries, a little bit of vanilla essence and maybe some macadamia nuts. Mix all that together just with a little bit of sort of coconut yogurt, and it is so delicious, honestly. And you start to retrain your taste buds to like the natural sweetness but without all those cravings and without that addiction. And so what you also want to do is you want to check for hidden sugars in your processed foods, okay? So you want to look for things like your high fructose corn, your corn syrup, sucrose, cane sugar, and I'm still on a journey with that because a lot of the organic health foods, snacks that we get for our kids can contain those things. So you've got to be mindful of that. And so the other foods that you really want to avoid when you're on a health kick and really trying to support optimum health and vitality are the processed junk foods. They're very inflammatory, and what they do is they weaken the immune system, they weaken your digestive system, even in those that can tolerate it quite well. So they're really not good, are they, when there's a sort of a COVID pandemic that doesn't seem to be going away. You really want those bodily systems to be strong. And so, you know, the thing about these foods as well is a lot of them, you know, might look good from the front, the labels, and they say all these great things, but when you go back and you actually read the ingredients in it, they have a lot of these other things in them. So it's really important to read the label, become an informed consumer. You know, you want to be looking for things like artificial flavorings, colorings, preservatives, anything's laden with any of these kind of sweeteners, the factory created fats, all of those things, and just looking for any sort of chemical name that you can't really understand, and there's more than one or two of them, then there's, you know, it's probably a processed food. And so what they're going to do is all of those ingredients are going to strip you of your healthy nutrients. So even if you eat well, they're just going to strip you of all the goodness that you're putting in. And so as much as possible, you want to be really careful with your packaged foods. Things like popcorn, as long as it's plain, are generally okay, or a sort of good organic, you know, rice cracker, maybe with a bit of seaweed or something. But, you know, being mindful of that some of these products that do appear healthy aren't. And even just your sauces like your tomato sauce and things like that, you are better off making your own or having very small amounts. And so once you become informed and you start reading the labels more and more, you'll start to realise what foods are best to avoid. And so another food that's important to avoid as much as possible is your bad fats. So your trans and your saturated fats, because they're very detrimental to your health and they really do deserve that bad rap. Of course, you know, fat can be good for you. There's certain fats that are great, which I will talk about in another strategy, and they can be major sources of energy. They can help you absorb vitamins and minerals and build cell membranes. But these trans fats create chronic inflammation in the body, which is like gasoline is to fire, right? And so inflammation ages you from the inside out. This is a really important point, actually. They eat away at your telomeres. So your telomeres protect the ends of your chromosomes, and they help with aging. And so these bad fats are actually aging accelerators, and none of us want that. So whatever you can do, you want to really be careful with these bad fats. You know, like your donuts, unfortunately your hot chips, which I used to have a bit with my young kids, and a lot of us mums do on those play dates, those hot chips, you know, the canola oils, the saff oil, all those oils that they're cooked in that aren't your olive oils. Even margarine, you know, you're much better off having grass-fed butter, organic butter, than you are having margarine. They're all best avoided. And so what these bad fats do is they actually go into your bloodstream really quickly, and they create massive inflammation, they suppress the immune system, and they actually shut down and slow down the metabolism. And so, you know, it's very easy to gain weight. They're also very addictive, like sugar. And because they're difficult to digest, that also further adds to the weight gain. It clogs the liver and it clogs those poor, beautiful arteries in your heart as well. The other thing that bad fats do is they create oxidative stress in the body, and they can block the thought processes. Well, not only that, they can actually block the absorption of your essential fatty acids, which are the ones that are really good for your body and for your health. And so once again, I always say this whenever I give any tips on nutrition, but it's really important to read the labels, because particularly the conventional foods, they really are quite good at hiding things and not telling the truth. So don't just look at the front of the pack, you want to read the back as well, because sometimes they'll blend the oils together. So they might say olive oil or coconut oil, and then you go on the back and they've got all the other oils in there as well. And so yes, you want to make sure that you're just having as many of those good oils as possible. So I'm going to share with you strategy 4 for great nutrition, optimum health, and that would be to reduce these foods. And the first food is wheat and gluten. Now, wheat has been shown to increase inflammation and contribute to fatigue, bloating, allergies, brain fog, poor concentration, and even depression in some people. And so your gluten protein can include things like wheat, barley, rye, oat spelt, and they've been shown to be abrasive in the gut. So it can be described as like having sandpaper in the gut wall. You can imagine that doesn't sound very nice, does it? But it may explain the strong correlation between gluten and between leaky gut syndrome. And so leaky gut syndrome is when you get that intestinal permeability and you create little holes in your intestines, and then food can get out into the bloodstream and cause all sorts of problems, you know, allergies, different skin rashes, even some illness. And so what was interesting was there was a study recently which showed that the gluten actually caused this intestinal permeability in people with the celiac gene or with celiac disease and without. So it proved that it doesn't matter whether you're sensitive to gluten or not, whether you're sensitive or have an allergy, it can still create leaky gut syndrome. And so that's a bit of a concern when you think about the average diet consists of, you know, cereal and toast for breakfast, sandwiches for lunch, and pasta and pizza for dinner. Give or take, but you know what I'm saying. There's a lot of wheat, there's a lot of gluten there. And so why it's such a big issue here in Australia is because of the way wheat's processed here. So when we went to Italy in 2018, I actually did eat gluten-free where I could, but I wasn't able to always get it, and I really felt like that wonderful Italian pizza, and I was fine. And it's because of the way the wheat is interrupted here and in different ways in our process. And so firstly, we use a lot more chemicals, a lot more fertilizers, pesticides, glyphosate here, and it changes the way our body is able to digest the gluten protein. But it also lowers the nutrients. You've got the two things going on there. Then the husk is usually removed. And so when it's removed, it takes all those nutrients and fibre and all that goodness with them. So we used to, you know, back here with our ancestors, they used to soak the grains. But in this modern day, we don't have time for that anymore. And so you get this really sort of quickly, highly processed wheat and gluten, and even sometimes the barley spelt rye. And they're packaged also with added sugars and things. So of course, you're not going to digest them very well. And so you've got to be a bit mindful. And so it's, you know, it is a good choice to buy gluten-free where you can. And so, you know, I've got some examples here. We've got the sort of quinoa rice, and this is a pasta. It's gluten-free. This one's organic. I like this brand, says organic. You know, we enjoy that one. You could do rice noodles. Rice noodles have their own set of problems, but in terms of digestion, you know, they are a better option. You've got, you know, things like quinoa, so you can look at different grains, you know, buckwheat, quinoa, brown rice can be great too because it's low GI and it's, you know, slowly absorbed by the body. And even with cereals, I was saying about the sugary cereals, but you can get other cereals, Brook Farm's good, this one's good as well, and, you know, they're gluten-free as well. So there's, you know, a lot of different options for you that can still be really healthy. So my other food group that I think it's important to reduce for most people is dairy, because dairy can be very inflammatory for the body, and if you consume too much over time it can actually lead to chronic disease. You know, things like arthritis, diabetes, anything that's an inflammatory disorder. And so one of the main reasons for this is that people drink conventional milk mostly, and it's pumped full of hormones. In fact, on those big conventional cattle farms, they feed the cows large amounts of genetically modified food. They also don't get sunshine, they don't get exercise, they go under huge stress. And then when we drink their milk or eat their cheese, the hormones and all those other things and the stress shows up in the milk. Or in the cheese, sometimes in the yogurt too, depending on how it's processed. And this puts huge stress on us. It puts huge stress on the liver, and once the liver is stressed, it is quite difficult to lose weight, and that absolutely over time contributes to weight gain. But also, cow's milk, for some reason, a lot of people are sensitive, some are even allergic, but a lot of people are sensitive to either the lactose or the protein in the milk. And this can irritate the gut, and it can cause all sorts of sort of allergies, asthma, eczema, even acne, skin issues, even as far as mood disorders, depression, headaches, things like that. And so, you know, you are best off, particularly if you're on a good sort of health kick and weight loss journey or health journey, is to have small amounts of, you know, aged cheese or a little bit of goat's cheese, because you always sprinkle small amounts rather than have so much of it. Maybe having some natural yogurt, natural Greek yogurt, all of those things, you know, pretty low in lactose and can generally be tolerated. And, you know, once again, it's going for the good quality. Go for the happy cow. You know, you want the free range, you want the organic, you want a nice little story about their local farm. You know, you can't really put a price on health. The amount of money that you might spend at the doctors and on medications is probably going to be more than the extra $1 or so you spend each time on that organic option. So it's absolutely worth doing if you can, and then you can go to Aldi and places like that. And if you're worried about your calcium intake, something interesting you may not know is that a cupful of leafy greens actually has more calcium in it than cow's milk. But not only that, the leafy greens actually have the added benefit of vitamin K. And it's been proven in a lot of science that you really need that vitamin K with the vitamin D to build those strong bones. And let's not get strong immunity too, which is what we need in this modern day. And so, you know, it can be a great way to get your calcium in. But other good sources include other sort of dark green vegetables. Sesame seeds are a great choice, and almonds, so your nuts, some of your nuts. And then you've got sort of onions, you've even got salmons and sardines are great choices too. And I love, you know, replacing it with your sort of non-dairy options. I've got some here, so I do the almond milk and the coconut milk, and I also have coconut yogurt and things like that. So there's always so many options available these days. And I really encourage you, you don't have to do it all at once, but just try something, swap something for something else, and that's better for your health. And, you know, see if you like it, you might surprise yourself.